My sister. It's her mummy, I'm sure, said the boy, pointing to the beggar girl. Jennifer Thompson was walking through downtown Portland, holding her 5-year-old son Ethan's hand tightly, when he suddenly stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. Her heart raced as she saw where he was pointing with such certainty. My sister. It's her mommy, I'm sure, said Ethan with wide eyes, pointing to a girl sitting at the entrance of a closed store. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her clothes were dirty and torn, her hair tangled, but there was something in those eyes that made Jennifer feel as if the world had stopped spinning. It was impossible. Absolutely impossible. Ethan, don't be silly. You don't have a sister, Jennifer replied, trying to pull him by the arm, but he resisted with a strength she'd never seen before. Yes, I do. I remember her. She used to sing that lullaby you sing to me, but she knew the little ending you always forget, Ethan insisted, slipping out of his mother's grip and running toward the girl. Jennifer chased after him, her heart pounding unevenly. It couldn't be. Not after all these years, not like this. When Ethan knelt in front of the girl and opened his lunchbox, sharing half of his sandwich with her, Jennifer's legs trembled. The girl took the sandwich and held it with both hands in a very specific way, as if protecting a treasure. It was exactly how her firstborn had held her bottle as a baby. Exactly like that. What's your name? Ethan asked the girl, who chewed the sandwich slowly. Emily, she answered in a sweet voice despite the dirt and tattered clothes. Jennifer felt the world collapse. Emily, the name she had chosen for her first child. The name written on the papers she'd signed 7 years ago, when she handed over her 3-month-old baby to a wealthy couple who promised to give her everything Jennifer couldn't provide. Mommy, look here, Ethan called Jennifer's attention, gently lifting Emily's hair from the nape of her neck. She has that little spot like the one you always say I have, but hers is smaller. Jennifer stepped closer, shaking. There it was, a small crescent-shaped birthmark, identical to Ethan's, only smaller and more delicate. The same mark she remembered seeing on Emily's neck when she was born. How do you know this song? Emily asked Ethan, who had started humming softly a melody Jennifer recognized immediately. My mommy always sings it to me, but she never remembers the ending, Ethan replied. Emily smiled for the first time and finished the song in a crystal-clear voice that made Jennifer brace herself against the wall to keep from falling. It was the lullaby she used to sing when Emily was a baby, the same one she sang to Ethan every night. But Emily knew the final verses Jennifer had forgotten over time. Where do you live? Jennifer asked, trying to keep her voice steady as she crouched beside them. Emily pointed toward the overpass a few blocks away. With Grandma Betty. She's taken care of me since the mean lady brought me here. What mean lady? Jennifer asked, her chest tightening. A woman with very neat hair. She brought me here a long time ago and said Grandma Betty would take care of me. She promised she'd come back, but she never did. Jennifer closed her eyes for a moment. 7 years ago, she had given Emily to Rachel and Daniel Parker, a business couple who couldn't have children. They lived in a mansion in the city's most upscale neighborhood and had promised Emily would have everything she needed. The arrangement was informal, but they sent photos and updates about the girl every year, until 3 years ago when contact stopped completely. Jennifer had tried several times to reach out, but the number had changed, and when she went to the house, she found they had moved without leaving an address. She had spent sleepless nights wondering what could have happened, but she never imagined the worst possible scenario. Ethan, we need to go, said Jennifer, standing up quickly. She was too confused to think straight. No, Mommy, I can't leave my sister here. Ethan held Emily's hand and hers at the same time. She'll be hungry again. Ethan, she's not your sister. Stop this story. Jennifer tried to be firm, but her voice trembled. Yes, she is. I always dream about her. Always. And in my dreams, she's crying and calling for me. Ethan started crying too. Please, Mommy, let her come with us. Emily looked from one to the other, as if she understood something very important was happening, but didn't know exactly what. I need to think, Ethan. This is very complicated. Jennifer took her wallet and gave Emily some coins. Buy something to eat, okay? Thank you, Mom. Emily smiled shyly. When Jennifer finally managed to pull Ethan away, he cried the whole way home. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if she was losing her mind or if she had really found her daughter in the worst way possible. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, the next day, Jennifer couldn't focus on anything. She worked as a saleswoman at a clothing store downtown and spent the whole day thinking about Emily. Was she hungry? Did she have a proper place to sleep? What if it rained? When she left work, she couldn't resist. She stopped by the bakery, bought some bread, and went back to the spot where she had found Emily the day before. The girl wasn't there. Jennifer asked some local shopkeepers if they knew a girl named Emily who stayed around there. An older man selling candy on the corner confirmed he knew her. "Oh, little Emily. She stays with Miss Betty under the overpass. She's a good girl, always polite. Miss Betty takes care of her like a granddaughter, but it's sad to see a child like that, isn't it?" Jennifer followed the directions and found the overpass. It was a place she drove past every day on her way to work, but had never paid attention to. Now walking there, she saw several people living beneath the concrete structure. They had made small shelters out of cardboard and tarps, creating a kind of makeshift community. At the back, near the widest pillar, was Ms. Betty. She was a woman around 60, thin but with a strange serenity for someone living on the streets. Emily sat beside her, playing with some twigs. "Excuse me," Jennifer approached hesitantly. "I wanted to talk to you about Emily, Miss..." Betty looked up and studied Jennifer from head to toe. "You're the boy's mother who played with her yesterday. Emily hasn't stopped talking about him. Said he shared his lunch and sang her favorite song." "Yes. Actually, I wanted to know more about Emily. How did she end up here?" Emily ran to Jennifer and hugged her legs as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You came back. Is Ethan here?" "He's at home," Jennifer replied, feeling a strange emotion as the girl hugged her. "Sit here with me." Emily pulled Jennifer to sit on the ground beside her. Grandma Betty was telling a really cool story. Ms. Betty watched their interaction with a sharp gaze that didn't escape Jennifer's notice. "You want to know how Emily got here?" Ms. Betty asked directly. "If it's not too much trouble." 2.5 years ago, a very well-dressed woman brought Emily here. She was crying a lot and said she had no choice. She asked me to take care of her for a while and promised to come back in a few weeks to pick her up. She left an envelope with some money and never returned. Do you remember what that woman looked like? Blonde hair, always very polished. She drove a sleek black car. She seemed wealthy but was desperate. Emily cried for days, calling for Mommy Rachel. Jennifer's heart turned to ice. Rachel, it was her. But why would Rachel have abandoned Emily like that? What had happened? And has Emily been living here ever since? I've cared for her as if she were my own granddaughter. She's a special girl, smart, affectionate. She didn't deserve to be here, but life is sometimes unfair to children. Emily was playing with a handmade cloth doll. "Who made this doll for you?" Jennifer asked. "Grandma Betty. She makes dolls for all the girls who show up here alone. I named her Hope." Jennifer felt her eyes well up. That child, her daughter, had been here for 2 years, cared for by a stranger who showed more compassion than many wealthy people she knew. "Emily, do you remember where you lived before coming here?" The girl stopped playing and grew thoughtful. "I remember a very big house with a blue swimming pool, and there was a lady who took care of me, but she wasn't my mother. She always said my real mother gave me to them because she loved me very much." "Do you remember that lady's name?" "Mommy Rachel, but when Daddy Daniel left, she got very sad and said she couldn't take care of me anymore." The pieces began falling into place for Jennifer. Rachel and Daniel must have separated, and Rachel, not knowing how to care for Emily alone, or perhaps facing financial struggles, had a moment of desperation and left her with Ms. Betty. "Can I ask you something?" Ms. Betty whispered to Jennifer. "Do you have any connection to Emily? Since yesterday, she hasn't stopped talking about your son, and today when you showed up here, her eyes lit up in a way I haven't seen in years." Jennifer didn't know how to respond. How could she explain such a complicated situation to a stranger? How could she admit she'd given up her daughter and now found her living on the streets? "It's complicated," was all she managed to say. "Sweetheart, in life, nothing is so complicated that it can't be fixed with love and honest talk. I see in your eyes the same look Emily has. The two of you share something special." That night, when Jennifer got home, Ethan bombarded her with questions about Emily. "You went to see her, didn't you, Mommy? How was she? Did she ask about me?" "Ethan, we need to talk," Jennifer said, sitting beside him on the couch. "Is it about Emily? I knew she was my sister. I always knew." "How could you always know, Ethan? You've never had a sister." "Mommy, I remember her singing to me when I was little. I remember her voice. And every time you sing that lullaby, I feel sad because something's missing." Jennifer fell silent. There was no way Ethan could remember Emily. When she gave her up, Ethan was just forming his earliest memories. He'd only been 2 at the time. "Ethan, tell me about these dreams you have about Emily." "I dream she's in a big, beautiful house, but she's crying because she wants to come home. And there's a blonde lady who gets mad at her. Then she's in a dark, cold place calling for me, but I can't reach her." Jennifer shuddered. How could Ethan dream such specific details about Emily's life? "And how long have you had these dreams?" "Forever, Mommy. But they've grown stronger lately. That's why when I saw her yesterday, I knew right away it was her." That night, Jennifer made a decision. She called her sister Sarah, the only person who knew about Emily. "Sarah, I found Emily." "What do you mean you found Emily? Where?" "She's been living on the streets for 2 years. Her adoptive parents abandoned her." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Jennifer, are you sure it's her?" "I am." Ethan recognized her immediately, and she has the same birthmark. She even knows the whole lullaby. "Oh my God, what now? What are you going to do?" "I don't know, Sarah. Ethan won't stop talking about going to see her, and I can't get her image out of my head. My daughter is living on the streets." "Jennifer, you know if you bring her home, you'll have to tell Michael everything, right? He doesn't know anything about Emily. Michael was Jennifer's husband. They had married when Ethan was 3, and Michael had raised him as his own. But Jennifer had never told him about Emily. It was a secret that haunted her every day." "I know. And I'm scared of how he'll react. Jennifer, you can't leave your daughter on the streets, no matter what." The next morning was Saturday. Ethan woke up early and went straight to Jennifer's room. "Mommy, are we going to get Emily today?" "Ethan, it's not that simple." "Why not? She doesn't have a real home, she's hungry, and I know she's my sister. What's so hard about that?" Michael appeared in the doorway, still in his pajamas. "What's this about a sister?" "Ethan, you don't have a sister." Jennifer swallowed hard. The moment she feared most had come. "Michael, we need to talk." "About what? What kind of crazy story is Ethan telling?" Ethan looked back and forth between them, sensing a tension in the air he didn't understand. "Daddy, Michael, yesterday, Mommy went to see Emily. She's been living under the overpass with a nice lady, but she shouldn't be there. She should be here with us." Michael stared at Jennifer, his expression a mix of confusion and irritation. "Jennifer, who is this child? And why is Ethan making up that she's his sister?" "Michael, sit down. It's a long story." For the next 2 hours, Jennifer told him everything. About the pregnancy she had at 17, about how she was alone and couldn't raise a child, about the painful decision to give Emily up to a family who could give her a better life, about how contact had stopped 3 years ago, and how Ethan had recognized Emily on the street. Michael stayed silent the entire time. When Jennifer finished, he stood up and left the room without a word. Ethan, who had overheard part of the conversation, looked at Jennifer with wide eyes. "So she really is my sister? You're her mom too?" "Yes, Ethan. She's your older sister." "Then why did you give her away?" "Because I was too young and couldn't take care of both of you at the same time. I thought she'd be happier with a family who could give her everything she needed. But she wasn't happier. She's sad and living on the streets." "I know, sweetheart. That's why Mommy is trying to figure out what to do now." "It's easy, Mommy, we bring her home." If only it were that simple, Jennifer thought. Michael spent the whole day leaving and coming back without speaking to her. Jennifer gave him space, knowing he needed time to process such big news. By late afternoon, she couldn't stand staying home any longer, and decided to go back to the overpass with Ethan. Emily was helping Miss Betty sort through some recyclables when she saw them coming. Ethan. She ran to hug the boy, who held her just as tightly. "I brought some things for you." Ethan opened a bag he had insisted on carrying and pulled out a few of his favorite toys. "This is my favorite toy car, but now it's yours." "Really? But isn't it really important to you?" "No. What's important to me now is making you happy." Jennifer watched the interaction between the two with a heavy heart. The connection between them was undeniable and natural, as if they had never been apart. "Miss Betty, can I talk to you?" Jennifer approached the elderly woman. "Of course, dear." If I wanted to take Emily with me, how would that work? I mean, would you let her go?" Miss Betty stopped what she was doing and looked directly into Jennifer's eyes. "You're her mother, aren't you?" The direct question caught Jennifer off guard. "How did you—" "Dear, I raised 5 children. I know a mother's love when I see it. Since yesterday when you showed up here, Emily has been different, happier, more hopeful. And the way you look at her, it's the same way I looked at my own children. It's complicated. A long time ago, you gave her to that woman, didn't you, Rachel?" Jennifer nodded, feeling her eyes well up. "I was so young, I couldn't—" "Dear, you don't have to explain yourself to me. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm here to take care of Emily. And if you can give her the love and family she deserves, I'll only be happy." "But won't you miss her?" "Of course I will. That girl brightened my days these past 2 years. But Emily's place isn't here with me. It's with her family, with you." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. When Jennifer and Ethan got home that night, Michael was sitting at the kitchen table with a serious expression. "Jennifer, we need to finish our conversation." Ethan went to his room to play, leaving the two alone. "Michael, I know you're upset with me for not telling you sooner." "I'm not upset, Jennifer. I'm confused, hurt that you didn't trust me all these years. But mostly, I'm trying to understand what this means for our family." "It means our family could be complete." Ethan recognized his sister, Michael. "You should have seen them together today. It's like they're real siblings, I know. Ethan hasn't stopped talking about her all day. He wants her to come live here." "And you, what do you want?" Michael was silent for a long moment. "Jennifer, when I married you, I promised to care for Ethan as if he were my own, and I've kept that promise. He's my son in every way. But now you're asking me to accept a child I don't know, who comes from a very complicated situation. She's my daughter, Michael. I know, and that's exactly why this is hard, because I love you, and I want you to be happy. But I also have to think about our family, about Ethan, about how this will affect all of us." "Ethan has already accepted her. More than that, he recognized her. Don't you understand how extraordinary that is?" "I do. But Jennifer, bringing a child who lived on the streets into our home isn't just an emotional matter. She'll need medical care, therapy, schooling. She could have traumas we can't even imagine. And that's exactly why she needs a family who loves and cares for her." Michael stood and walked to the window. "Give me a few days to think, Jennifer. This is a decision that will change our lives forever." Jennifer respected Michael's request, but in the days that followed, she couldn't stay away from Emily. Every evening after work, she stopped by the overpass to see her. She always brought something: food, clothes, toys. Emily waited for these visits with an anxiety that touched Jennifer's heart. The little girl had started calling her Aunt Jennifer and always asked when Ethan would return. It was during one of these visits that Jennifer noticed Emily was coughing a lot. "She's been like this for 2 days, said Miss Betty, worried. "It gets worse at night. I think she's coming down with a bad cold. Have you taken her to the health clinic?" "I tried, but they want documents I don't have, and without a legal guardian, it's difficult." Jennifer looked at Emily, who was playing with Ethan but clearly had no energy, coughing every few minutes. "Ms. Betty, if I take her to my house for a few days just until she gets better, would you mind?" "Sweetheart, you don't even need to ask. I'd feel much better knowing she's being well taken care of." That night, Jennifer arrived home with Emily in her arms. The girl had a fever, and her cough had worsened. Michael was watching TV when he saw them come in. "Jennifer, what?" "She's sick, Michael. I couldn't leave her in the cold with that cough." Ethan ran down the stairs when he heard voices. "Emily, you came to our house. Just for a few days, sweetheart," Jennifer explained to Ethan, but looked directly at Michael. "Until she gets better." Michael sighed, but said nothing. He helped Jennifer take Emily to the guest room and went to get the thermometer. "She has a fever of 101.3, he said after checking her temperature. "First thing tomorrow, we'll take her to the pediatrician." "Thank you," was all Jennifer could say, moved by his gesture. Emily slept through the night. It was the first time in 2 years she'd slept in a real bed, in a warm and safe room. Jennifer checked on her every hour, and whenever she entered the room, she found Ethan asleep on the floor beside the bed, as if protecting his sister. The next morning, Michael took Emily and Jennifer to the pediatrician. The doctor diagnosed bronchitis and prescribed medication and rest. "She'll need to rest for at least a week," said the doctor, "and it's important to keep her warm and hydrated." During that week, something magical happened in the Thompson family's home. Emily, despite being sick, brought a joy Michael hadn't expected. Ethan never left her side, telling stories, playing quiet games, sharing all his toys without hesitation. And Emily gradually began to show her true personality. She was a smart, affectionate girl, surprisingly mature for her 7 years. She helped Jennifer in the kitchen, organized her own toys, and always asked if she could do something to help. Michael watched everything in silence. He saw how Emily treated Ethan with a natural protective tenderness, as if she truly were the older sister looking after her little brother. He saw how Jennifer blossomed in a way he hadn't seen in years, as if a part of her that had been asleep had awakened. At the end of the week, when Emily was almost fully recovered, Michael made his decision. "Jennifer, we need to talk about the next steps." "I know it's time to take her back to Miss Betty," said Jennifer, trying to hide the sadness in her voice. "Actually, no. I think it's time we arrange the necessary documents for her to stay here permanently." Jennifer looked at Michael, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Are you sure?" "Jennifer, this week I saw how happy the three of you are together. I saw how Ethan is more complete, happier, and I saw how fulfilled you are in a way I've never seen before. How could I take that away from you? But you said you needed to think about our family. And I did. And I realized she's already part of our family. From the moment Ethan recognized her, from the moment you brought her home, she became part of us." Jennifer couldn't hold back her tears. "There's one thing I want to understand," said Michael. "How is it possible that Ethan recognized her? He was so little when you two separated." "I don't fully understand it either. But some children have very strong emotional memories. And maybe there's a bond between siblings that goes beyond what we can explain." That night, when they went to tell Emily she could stay, they found her and Ethan in his room, sitting on the bed, whispering. "What are you two talking about?" asked Jennifer. "Emily was telling me about the dreams she had about me," said Ethan. "What dreams?" "I always dreamed I had a little brother," said Emily. "He had curly hair just like mine and was always crying because he wanted to find me. In my dreams, I'd sing to him to stop crying." Michael and Jennifer exchanged glances. It was impossible, yet it was happening right there. "And did you always know where I was?" asked Ethan. "Not always, but sometimes I'd dream you were in a warm, safe house playing with toy cars, and that made me happy because I knew you were okay, even far away from me." "Emily," said Jennifer, sitting on the bed beside them, "would you like to live here with us forever?" Emily looked at Ethan, then at Michael, then at Jennifer. "Forever? Not just until my cough gets better?" "Forever," Michael confirmed. "If you want to, of course." Emily hugged all three of them at once, crying with happiness. "I always knew I'd find my real family one day. Grandma Betty always said God would take care of me." In the days that followed, Jennifer and Michael began arranging the necessary paperwork to formalize Emily's situation. It wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to do everything the right way. They also went to visit Miss Betty to tell her about their decision. The elderly woman was emotional but happy. "I always knew this day would come," she said, hugging Emily. "You were born to be loved by a real family." "But Grandma Betty is my family too," said Emily. "Can I come visit?" "Whenever you want, my dear little granddaughter." It was then that Miss Betty shared something that changed everything. "There's something you need to know. The woman who brought Emily here, she came back." "What do you mean, came back?" asked Jennifer. "A few weeks ago, she came here looking for Emily. She was desperate, said her life had gotten better, and she wanted the girl back." "And what did you tell her?" "I told her Emily wasn't here anymore, that she'd found a family who cared for her. The woman was furious, said she'd find Emily no matter what." Michael and Jennifer exchanged worried glances. "Do you think she could cause trouble?" "I don't know, dear, but you need to be prepared." She seemed determined. That night, Michael and Jennifer talked about the situation. "Jennifer, if this Rachel shows up here wanting Emily back, what are we going to do?" "Emily isn't her daughter, Michael. She's my daughter, and Rachel abandoned her. Legally, it could be complicated. She's the one who took care of Emily for years. But she abandoned her, left my daughter on the street." "I know, but sometimes the law doesn't see things the way it should." Jennifer fell silent, thinking. She couldn't lose Emily again, not after finding her and seeing how happy she and Ethan were together. "Michael, what do you think we should do?" "First, we'll get all the paperwork sorted as quickly as possible. Second, we'll talk to a lawyer to understand our rights. And third, we'll prepare Emily for the possibility of this woman showing up." "How do I prepare a 7-year-old for something like this?" "With honesty and love. Explain that she's safe with us and that we'll protect her." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. 2 weeks later, Michael and Jennifer managed to get an appointment with a family law attorney. Dr. Richard Stevens was a middle-aged man who had been handling cases like this for over 20 years. "Your situation is complicated, but not impossible," the lawyer explained after hearing the whole story. "The fact that Jennifer is the biological mother is a strong point. The fact that the child was abandoned is another. But we need to prove the abandonment actually happened." "How do we do that?" asked Michael. "Witnesses. Miss Betty, who took care of the child, the local shopkeepers who saw Emily living on the streets, anyone who can confirm she was left helpless. What if Rachel claims she only left Emily temporarily with Miss Betty? That's why we need to act fast. The longer Emily stays with you, building strong family bonds, the better for our case." "Doctor, there's one thing I don't understand," said Jennifer. "How is it possible that Emily was living on the streets when I handed her over to a wealthy family?" "Do you have any documentation of that agreement?" "No, it was all informal. They just promised to take good care of her and send me updates." "That complicates things a bit. But if we can prove negligence on the adoptive family's part, it strengthens our case." When they left the lawyer's office, Michael and Jennifer were determined to fight for Emily to stay with their family. That same week, they began gathering witnesses. Miss Betty was the first, and her account was clear and detailed. She had even kept the envelope with the money Rachel had left as proof that the child had been abandoned there. The man who sold candy on the corner also confirmed he'd seen Emily living on the streets for at least 2 years. Other locals gave similar testimonies, but it was during this investigation that they discovered something surprising. The owner of a small grocery store near the overpass said Rachel had shown up there a few times in recent months, asking about Emily. "She seemed very nervous," the shopkeeper said. "She mentioned she was looking for a girl she'd lost track of, offered money to anyone who had information about her." "Did anyone give her information?" asked Jennifer. "Not that I know of, but she left a phone number. I still have the paper here." Jennifer looked at the number on the paper. It was a tough decision, but she knew she needed to understand what had happened to Emily during the years she was with Rachel. "Michael, I want to call her." "Jennifer, are you sure?" The lawyer said we shouldn't have direct contact. "I need to know what happened. I need to understand why she abandoned my daughter like that." That night, hands trembling, Jennifer dialed the number. "Hello?" a woman's voice answered. "Rachel? Yeah, who is this?" "It's Jennifer, Emily's biological mother." There was a long silence on the other end. "Jennifer, how did you get my number? Where's Emily?" "She's with me. where she should have been from the start. What do you mean she's with you? I've been looking for her for months. You abandoned her under an overpass, Rachel. My daughter spent 2 years living on the streets. That's not what happened. I didn't abandon her. I left her with Miss Betty temporarily because I was going through a really tough time. For 2 years, Rachel. You left a 5-year-old with a stranger for 2 years and never came back. You don't understand. My life fell apart. Daniel left me, took all the money. I lost the house, I lost everything. I couldn't take care of her. And why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you give her back to me? Because I was ashamed. Ashamed to admit I had failed, and because I didn't know how to find you. Rachel, you took care of my daughter for 5 years. What was that time like? Rachel began to cry on the other end of the line. I loved that little girl as if she were my own, Jennifer. Daniel and I tried for years to have children, and when Emily came into our lives, it was like our dreams had come true. Then why? Because when Daniel left me, he said he didn't want any responsibilities that weren't his by blood. He said Emily wasn't really our daughter and that I should get rid of this problem. And you agreed with that? No, I tried to keep her, Jennifer. I really tried, but without Daniel, I couldn't pay the bills, couldn't keep the house. Emily started getting sick because I couldn't even afford the vitamins she needed. Still, you could have looked for me. I thought about it every day. But how? You had given her to me because you couldn't take care of her. How could I just show up and give her back, saying I had failed too? Jennifer fell silent, trying to process everything she was hearing. Rachel, when you left Emily with Miss Betty, did you really plan to come back? Of course I did. I told her I'd be back in a few weeks. But weeks turned into months and I was living at my sister's place, trying to rebuild my life. And the longer it went on, the harder it became to go back. And now? Why are you looking for her now? Because my life is stable now. I got a good job, rented a small but decent place, and I couldn't live knowing Emily was out there without a family. She has a family, Rachel. She has me. She has Ethan. She has Michael. Ethan? Her brother. My other son. She has a brother? Rachel's voice softened. Yes. And you should see how they are together. It's like they were never apart. Jennifer, can I see her, just to know she's okay? Jennifer hesitated. On one hand, she understood Rachel had cared for Emily for 5 years and deserved to know how she was. On the other, she was afraid of confusing the girl. Rachel, Emily is adjusting to our family. She's happy, healthy, safe. I don't want to do anything that could disrupt that. I understand. But Jennifer, for 5 years, I was the only mother she knew. Don't you think she might want to see me? The question lingered in Jennifer's mind the rest of the night. She talked to Michael about the call and the dilemma she was facing. What's your heart telling you? Michael asked. My heart is saying 2 conflicting things. On one hand, I understand what Rachel went through. On the other, I'm angry at her for abandoning my daughter. And what does Emily think about it? I don't know. We've never asked her about Rachel. Maybe it's time to ask. The next morning at breakfast, Jennifer decided to bring it up with Emily. Emily, do you remember Mommy Rachel? Emily stopped eating and grew thoughtful. I do, why? Do you miss her? Sometimes. She took good care of me. But in the end, she got really sad and angry. And then she took me far away and never came back. If she wanted to see you, would you want to? Emily looked at Ethan, then at Michael, then at Jennifer. She won't take me away again, will she? No, sweetheart. You'll stay here with us forever. But she took care of you for a long time, and maybe she wants to know how you're doing. If she promises not to take me away, I can talk to her, but I want you all to stay with me. Of course, Princess. We'll always be with you. Jennifer called Rachel that night and arranged to meet at a public park the following weekend. It would be a neutral, public place where Emily would feel safe. When the day of the meeting arrived, Emily was visibly nervous. What if she wants me to go back home with her? She asked in the car on the way to the park. You're not going back with her, Emily, Michael said firmly. Your home is with us now. Promise? I promise, Jennifer said. You'll only leave our house when you're grown up and want to live on your own, and even then you'll always be our daughter." Ethan held Emily's hand the whole way. "If she tries to take you, I'll scream really loud," he said, making Emily smile. When they arrived at the park, Rachel was already there. She was a woman in her 40s with blonde hair, just as Emily had described, but she looked thinner and more tired than Jennifer had imagined. Emily ran to her without hesitation. "Mommy, Rachel!" Rachel picked her up and hugged her tightly, crying, "Emily, my princess, how you've grown! I've missed you so much. I missed you too. Why did it take you so long to come for me?" "Mommy went through some very hard times, Emily. But now I see you're well taken care of, and that makes me happy. Do you want to meet my little brother?" Emily called Ethan, who was standing shyly behind Jennifer. "This is Ethan. He recognized me when he saw me on the street. He always knew I was his sister." Ethan waved timidly at Rachel. "Hi, Ethan. Emily always talked about you when she was little. She said she had a little brother she'd never met." "Really?" Ethan perked up. "I always dreamed about her too." They spent about an hour at the park. Rachel told Emily about the house they used to live in, the friends Emily had at school, and the outings they used to take together. Emily listened with interest, but always returned to playing with Ethan and staying close to Jennifer. When it was time to leave, Rachel hugged Emily one more time. "Emily, I want you to know I love you very much, and if you ever want to see me again, I'll always be here." "Can you come visit us sometimes?" Emily asked. Rachel looked at Jennifer, who nodded. "If your mommy allows it, I'd love to visit you." "She will, she's really good to me." When they got home, Emily seemed calmer and more at ease. "Mommy, Jennifer," she said, as Jennifer helped her change clothes. "I like Mommy, Rachel, but my home is here with you." "Why?" "Because here I have Ethan, and because here you'll never give me away to someone else." "Never, sweetheart. Never." In the weeks that followed, the Thompson family settled into a new, happy rhythm. Emily enrolled in the same school as Ethan and quickly made friends. She was an incredibly adaptable and resilient child. Michael, who had initially been hesitant, was surprised by how naturally he grew to love Emily. She had a tender way with people and a maturity that touched his heart. Ethan blossomed in a way Jennifer had never seen before. Having a sister made him more responsible, more affectionate, more confident. The two became inseparable, and Jennifer finally felt complete. For 7 years, she had carried a quiet guilt, a sense that something was missing in her life. Now, watching her 2 children playing together in the backyard, she knew her family was finally whole. But life, as always, still had a few surprises in store. One day, about 2 months after the reunion with Rachel, Ethan came home from school quieter than usual. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Jennifer asked. "The teacher asked about Emily's family today. She wanted to know about her paperwork to complete the school records." "What did you say?" Emily was sad. She said she doesn't have any documents because she's a street kid. Jennifer got worried. Despite all their efforts, Emily's paperwork still wasn't fully sorted out. The process was underway, but there were still bureaucratic hurdles to clear. "Where's Emily now?" "In the backyard. She said she wanted to be alone." Jennifer found Emily sitting under the oak tree, hugging the rag doll Miss Betty had made for her. "Sweetheart, what happened at school?" "The teacher asked about my documents, and I don't have documents like the other kids." "Emily, you do have documents. We're just getting everything in order, so you'll have all the papers you need." But the other kids laughed at me. They said a street kid can't go to a real school. Jennifer's heart ached. She knew Emily would face prejudice, but she hadn't expected it to happen so soon. "Emily, look at me." Jennifer sat down beside her on the ground. "You're not a street kid. You're my daughter. You're Ethan's sister. You're part of this family." "But I lived on the streets, Mommy, with Grandma Betty." "And there's nothing wrong with that. You're a survivor, Emily. You're brave and strong, and any kid who laughs at you is missing out on knowing an amazing girl." Ethan came running into the backyard. "Emily, I told everyone you're my sister and the smartest girl in school. And if anyone messes with you again, they'll have to deal with me too." Emily smiled for the first time since coming home from school. "Ethan, will you always be on my side?" "Always. Forever. That's what siblings do." That night, Michael had a talk with the school principal. explaining the situation and asking for a conversation with the kids about respect and inclusion. The principal, a kind and understanding woman, promised to address the issue with all the students. "Mr. Michael, I know your story. The whole town is talking about how you took Emily in. It's a beautiful example of family love." "The town is talking?" "Yes, and most people are moved by the story. In fact, some families have asked me if they could help in any way." Michael was surprised. He hadn't realized the story had spread. When he told Jennifer, she grew worried. "Michael, what if this attention reaches someone who could complicate our situation? Are you thinking about Rachel? Not just her. What if someone from her original adoptive family shows up wanting Emily back? Jennifer, we can't live in fear. We're doing everything right legally. Emily is with us because it's what's best for her." But Jennifer's concern wasn't unfounded. The following week, a man showed up at their door, introducing himself as Daniel Parker, Rachel's ex-husband. "I came to talk about Emily," he said when Jennifer answered the door. "Are you the Daniel who raised my daughter?" "Yes, and I'm here to say I want her back." Jennifer felt the world spin. "What do you mean you want her back? You abandoned her." "I didn't abandon anyone. Rachel did that without my knowledge. When I found out where Emily was, I came for her." "And why did it take you so long?" "Because I didn't know where she was. Rachel hid it from me. I only found out a few weeks ago that Emily was with you." "And now you suddenly want her back?" "She's not legally your daughter. She's mine. I raised her for 5 years." Michael came home just then and saw the argument at the door. "What's going on here?" "This is Daniel. He says he wants Emily back." Daniel looked Michael up and down. "And you are?" "I'm Emily's father, the father raising her now." "You're no father. That child was given to me and my ex-wife. Legally, I have more rights to her than you do." "What rights?" Michael was losing his patience. "You abandoned her on the street." "That was Rachel's mistake. I didn't know she had done that." At that moment, Emily and Ethan appeared at the door, returning from school. Emily saw Daniel and stopped immediately. "Daddy, Daniel?" Her voice came out in a whisper. "Hello, Emily. How are you?" Emily hid behind Jennifer. "I don't want to leave," she said softly. "Emily, come here. Daddy came to get you." "No!" Emily clung to Jennifer's skirt. "I don't want to go with you. You left and abandoned me." "Emily, it wasn't Daddy who left you alone. It was Mommy Rachel." "But you left and never came back. I cried so much calling for you." Ethan stepped in front of Emily as if protecting her. "She doesn't want to go with you," Ethan said, with a courage that surprised all the adults. "Boy, this isn't your business." "Yes, it is. She's my sister." Daniel looked at the children, then at Michael and Jennifer. "You've turned these children against me." "No one turned anyone against anything," Jennifer said. "Emily is just expressing how she feels." "Well, feelings can change. I'll pursue my legal rights." Daniel left, leaving the family shaken. Emily cried all afternoon. "Mommy, is he going to take me away?" she asked every few minutes. "No, sweetheart. We won't let that happen." "But he said he has legal rights." "Emily, sometimes adults say a lot of things when they're upset, but I promise you we'll figure this out." Michael immediately called Dr. Richard, the lawyer. "Doctor, Rachel's ex-husband showed up wanting Emily back. That complicates things a bit. Does he have any documents proving custody of the child?" "We don't know. What we do know is he left home and left Emily with Rachel. And when Rachel abandoned Emily, he didn't come to get her. That's good for our case. If we can prove he abandoned his parental responsibilities, we can argue neglect. And in the meantime, keep Emily with you. Don't hand her over to anyone without a court order." That night, the Thompson family had a serious talk. "Emily," Michael said, "we want you to know we'll fight for you to stay with us, but we also want you to understand it might be a difficult process." "What does that mean?" "It means we might have to talk to a lot of people, maybe go to some places, answer many questions. But in the end, I stay with you. In the end, you stay where it's best for you, and we believe that's here with us." "I believe that too," Emily said. "Here I have Ethan, I have you all, I have my school, my friends. At Daddy Daniel's house, I had none of that." You had Mommy Rachel, Ethan reminded her. I did, and I loved her. But when Daddy Daniel left, she got very sad. And I got sad seeing her sad. Here, you're happy with me. We're very happy, Jennifer confirmed. In the following weeks, the situation grew more tense. Daniel hired a lawyer and filed for custody of Emily. The Thompson family's lawyer worked tirelessly to build a strong case. They gathered all witnesses of the abandonment, medical records showing Emily was well cared for, school reports on her adjustment and development. But most important were the psychological evaluations. At the judge's request, Emily underwent a psychological assessment to determine her emotional well-being and preferences. The psychologist, Dr. Catherine Wilson, was an experienced professional in custody cases. After several sessions with Emily, she called all the involved adults for a meeting. After carefully evaluating the case, said the psychologist, I can confirm that Emily is an emotionally healthy child, but she has experienced significant trauma related to abandonment. How does this affect our situation? Asked Daniel's lawyer. Emily shows a very strong emotional bond with her current family, especially with Ethan, her biological brother. Separating these children now would be highly damaging to both. But does she also show affection for Mr. Daniel? Asked Dr. Richard. Yes, but it's affection mixed with fear and resentment. Emily associates Mr. Daniel with the period when she was abandoned. She clearly states that she does not want to live with him again. Daniel looked visibly shaken. Doctor, but that could change over time, couldn't it? Mr. Daniel, Emily went through a traumatic abandonment experience. Now she has found stability and emotional security. Removing her from this environment would repeat the trauma. So you're recommending she stays with them? I'm recommending that the child's best interests be considered. And at this moment, what's best for Emily is to remain with her biological family, where she clearly feels safe and loved. After this meeting, the legal battle continued for a few more weeks, but the psychologist's report was decisive. The judge scheduled a final hearing where Emily, despite being a child, could speak about her feelings. On the day of the hearing, Emily was nervous but determined. Emily, the judge said gently, do you understand why we're all here today? Yes, sir. You want to know where I want to live. That's right. And where do you want to live? With Mommy Jennifer, Daddy Michael, and my brother Ethan. Why? Because they love me. And I love them. And because there, I have a complete family. And how do you feel about Mr. Daniel? Emily looked at Daniel, who was sitting on the other side of the room. I like Daddy Daniel. He took care of me when I was little, but when he left, I was really scared. And then Mommy Rachel got sad and took me away too. Emily, if Mr. Daniel promised he would never leave again, would you want to live with him? Emily thought for a long moment. I'd like to visit him sometimes, but my home is with my real family. And who is your real family? Mommy Jennifer, who gave birth to me, Daddy Michael, who takes care of me now, and Ethan, who's my brother and always will be. The judge asked a few more questions and then called for a recess to deliberate. When he returned, his decision was made. After reviewing all aspects of this case, including the psychological evaluation and the child's own testimony, I rule that Emily Thompson shall remain with her biological family. Daniel Parker will have the right to bi-weekly visits if the child agrees, but custody remains with Jennifer and Michael Thompson. Daniel looked visibly disappointed, but did not contest the decision. Emily is a special girl, he said as they left the courthouse. I hope you take good care of her. We always have, Jennifer replied, and we always will. When they got home, Emily ran to the backyard where her doll, Hope, made for her by Miss Betty, was waiting. Hope, she said, hugging the doll, now we really have a family forever. Ethan joined her under the oak tree. Emily, were you scared? I was, but then I remembered you always said we were siblings, even before everyone knew, and I thought if you were so sure it must be true. And you'll never leave here again? Never. Only when we're grown up and want our own homes. But even then, we'll always be siblings. Forever. Forever. Jennifer and Michael watched their children's conversation from the kitchen window. Michael, do you regret anything? Jennifer asked. I regret not having met Emily earlier. She's an incredible girl. She is. And Ethan? Ethan gained a sister, and we gained a daughter. Our family is complete. 3 months later, a letter arrived for Emily. It was from Rachel. Dear Emily, I heard you now have a proper and official family. I can't express how happy that makes me. I always knew you deserved a family who would love you completely, and now you have that. I want you to know you'll always have a special place in my heart, and if you ever want to talk to me, I'll be here. Take good care of your brother Ethan, and let your new family take good care of you. With love, Mommy Rachel. Emily asked Jennifer to help her write a response. Dear Mommy Rachel, thank you for taking care of me when I was little. Now I have a big family. Mommy Jennifer, Daddy Michael, my brother Ethan, you, Daddy Daniel, and Grandma Betty. I've learned that a person can have so much love in their heart for many different people. One day I want you to meet my children so you can see how well your Emily turned out. I love you, Emily. When the letter was sent, Jennifer realized how much Emily had emotionally matured. She had learned to handle complex feelings and understood that love isn't limited or exclusive. At the end of that year, Emily and Ethan's school organized an end-of-year presentation where the children would talk about family. Emily and Ethan asked to present together. Our family, Emily said into the microphone without hesitation, is a little different from others. Yeah, Ethan agreed, because we got lost and found each other again. I lived with other people for a while, Emily continued. And I even lived on the streets, but my brother Ethan recognized me even after all those years. And now we're together forever, Ethan said. Our family taught us that sometimes bad things happen in life, Emily added, but if we don't give up, things can always get better. And that a brother is a brother no matter where he is, Ethan finished. The audience gave them a standing ovation. Jennifer and Michael were moved to tears. After the presentation, an elderly woman approached Jennifer. Excuse me for interrupting, she said, but I wanted to say your story inspired me. I've been a social worker for 40 years and I rarely see such a beautiful ending as this. Thank you, Jennifer replied. May I ask you something? Have you ever thought about helping other children like Emily? How do you mean? There are many children in similar situations, children who need temporary or permanent families. You clearly have so much love to give. Jennifer looked at Michael, who nodded in agreement. We can talk about it, Jennifer said. That night at dinner, Jennifer told Emily and Ethan about the conversation with the social worker. How would you feel if other children came to live with us sometimes? She asked. Like Emily did? Ethan asked. Similar. Children who need a family for a while or forever. Emily thought for a moment. I think I'd like that, because I know what it's like not to have a family, and here we have so much love. What about you, Ethan? If they're as nice as Emily, I'm in. And if they're not so nice? Then we teach them how to be, Ethan said, making everyone laugh. Michael looked at his family and smiled. I think our house is going to get pretty busy. I like it when the house is busy, Emily said. It's more fun. And so the Thompson family not only reunited, but discovered they had even more love to share. 6 months later, they welcomed their first foster child, a 4-year-old boy named Noah who needed to stay with them while his family situation was resolved. Ethan and Emily welcomed him like a younger brother, teaching him the lullaby that had connected them, showing him the backyard where they played, introducing him to the doll Hope, who was now the official mascot of the family. Noah stayed with them for just 2 months, but when he was reunited with his birth family, he left a permanent mark on everyone's hearts. Mommy, Emily said the day Noah left, can we always do this? Help children who don't have families? We can, sweetheart, whenever you and Ethan want to. We do, Ethan said, because family is something that grows when we share it. And so, from a story that began with pain and separation, a beautiful tale of love, reunion, and generosity was born. Emily grew up knowing she had been loved by many people throughout her life. Rachel, who cared for her tenderly in her early years, Miss Betty, who protected her when she was helpless, Daniel, who despite his flaws had been an important father figure, and most of all, Jennifer and Michael, who gave her not just a home, but a complete family. Ethan grew up understanding that sibling love is one of the most powerful forces in the world, capable of overcoming time, distance, and any obstacle. Michael discovered that being a father has nothing to do with blood, but with love, dedication, and presence. And Jennifer learned that sometimes life's hardest decisions can lead to the most beautiful endings, and that a mother's love is like a seed that can grow in any soil, no matter how much time passes. The Thompson family home became known in town as a place where children were always welcome. Over the years, they took in more than 20 children, some for days, others for months, and a few, like Emily, forever. Every child who passed through carried with them the full lullaby, taught by Ethan and Emily, and the certainty that there are people in the world willing to love without expecting anything in return. And so, a simple afternoon of shopping in downtown Portland, where a 5-year-old boy recognized his long-lost sister, became the origin of one of the most beautiful family love stories the city had ever seen. Years later, when Emily graduated as a social worker and Ethan became a teacher, they continued working together to help vulnerable children. Their own story inspired public policies for foster care in the region. And to this day, when they tell their story, they always end it the same way. Love doesn't need an explanation, Emily says. It just recognizes what's its own, Ethan adds. And when it does, Jennifer finishes, it never lets go. The end. So, dear listener, what did you think of this reunion story? Do you believe there's a special connection between siblings that goes beyond time? Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We have many more heartwarming stories waiting for you.